To learn today. Today we'll just see. In our last class, we had discussed about the transfer acceleration, right? To speed up the upload into S3 bucket. So we'll see how we can do all these kind of setups in the bucket. Okay. So let's go to the S3. So guys, if you have not yet practiced, okay, just today at least create some bucket, okay, try to put objects and try to see how you can access the object from the browser and how you can modify, enable the version, try to play around with the version, putting some different files, text files, okay. Just do practice at least for 1 hour, create multiple buckets, add multiple objects into that, and see different permissions, how the permissions being given, right? How you'll make the public access, how you'll make the private, or if you make private and try to access the object, whether you can able to access or not, right? Same thing you can create it. Also try to do something differently, like your friends id, like give only access to your friends, right? Same things you can do, whatever we have learned in our last class. Now, today what I'm going to tell you about two major things, which may get questions in the interview as well as in the certification exam. Okay, so what I'm going to tell you today, that accelerate the speed of uploading the objects into S3, and the other one is to multi-region replication. These two important things I'll tell you today. So how we'll do that? Suppose whatever the buckets you have created, right, in your dashboard, you can see here the bucket name, and it is the access type is public. Now it is the bucket is publicly.
I think you have not shared your screen.
Okay, yeah, sure,
Yes.
I'll say it now.
And also please record the session.
Yeah, sure, thank you. So I think, okay, I think you can guys see now, right? Yeah,
Yes,
I
yes.
think Ranjit and Chandan both are not well today and might be not joined. So Chandan is joined. No, Chandan is also not joined. Chandan and Ranjit tonight both are sick today, right? So both will not join. Okay, fine. So we can see here this demo bucket B5. Okay, so let me just click on this bucket here, and you will find lots of informations related to the bucket. The first thing is the object tab. In the object tab, the number of objects, you can view it here, and you can deal with the objects also. Okay, and you can see here upload button, and if you select any one of the file, you can see lots of other options also activated. Okay, now you can see these are the options disabled. If you select one of the object, you'll see these are the options activated now. So you can copy the S3 URI. You don't have to go to the object to get the URI. So if you want to get the URI, URL, and the tag reference, right, what you to do, you have to go to the object and get those details from there itself, right? Instead, you can copy directly from here itself. They have given a shortcut button here. You can directly copy the S3 URI, copy the URL here, right? Suppose if you want to just select this one and copy the URL here, and you don't have to go and unnecessarily to grab the URL to display the objects, right? You can simply go ahead and copy here. See, you can directly copy the URL from here itself. And if you want to download this object, click on this, and all these things you know already. If you want to delete any object, you can delete it here. And action, it has lot of other things also available. Copy, you can copy, you can move the object to another bucket. If you want to move, you want to rename the bucket, okay, all this information, edit tag, public using ACL, all these actions button, you can get it. Okay, and if you want to create a subfolder, this is the parent folder, right, demo bucket B. If you want to create a subfolder inside this bucket, okay, inside this bucket, if you want to create a folder, you can still create a folder. Okay, now the upload button to upload the objects. Okay, so this tab is pretty much clear, right? Now let's move on to the properties tag. In this properties tag, we find bucket versioning. Okay, so what else we'll find? We'll find the tags and the encryptions method and the intelligent tiering archive configurations. For archive proposal, if you want to archive the buckets and all. So you can use these options to archive the. So why it says intelligent tiering? That means you are going to set off in kind of cron jobs, or going to set off some time like the windows, at what time, at what day you want the data to be archived. Okay, that you can do that. Now server accessing log, to access the logs, you can find it out. And this is the cloud trail data events, and this is will learn when will go with this cloud trail service. Okay, we have a different up service in AWS called cloud trail and cloud watch. So there is two different monitoring tool, cloud watch and cloud trail. So both of the things we'll learn in our classes. Okay, now so event notifications, to set off the event notifications if there are any modification or anything, any events occurred in your bucket. If somebody something deleted, somebody someone something added to your bucket or something, you can just use this event. So I will do that. Let me just tell you, just click on this create event notifications. Okay, and just give a name. Okay, any name like demo. So prefix is optional, leave it. Suffix also optional, I don't need anything. So you can just limit the notification. Suppose you want to send only notifications to particular directory or particular subfolder. So you can give like the images. Suppose you want to send notifications for images folder. Okay, you can give it as, and suffix some kind of extensions like some Java file or JPG file or any kind of C file or Python file. If you see that particular file if getting modified or anything, then notifications will be sent. And what type of event? Object creation, like if somebody create any object, you can select either all object create event like put, post, copy, multi-part upload completed, all these options, right? It will trigger an event. Also object removal, if somebody deleted any object from the bucket, or anybody restored any object, anybody changes some access control list, anybody added some tag. Okay, all these things you can set up. Okay, after selecting these things, you can choose the event, how the event will be triggered, right? Specify lambda function, choose from your lambda function or enter lambda function ARN. So what is this lambda function? Actually this is one of the service provided by AWS API service, which will use to trigger any kind of events, or you can use any kind of work by using that API. So this is required some Python knowledge to learn some lambda because it's written in Python. Okay, and you can select choose lambda functions if you have anything created. Okay, that is required, that is totally a different lambda functions class. Okay, and that is for serverless programming. Okay, for that you have to, suppose you, if you have already lambda functions, then you have to select it here and then save the changes. So the notifications will be automatically created based on the event you set up. The email notifications will be triggered to the account owner. Okay, so this is how you have to set up the events. Now let's move on and set off the transfer acceleration. This is what we need to know. Okay, before going to this transfer acceleration, let me tell you about this object locking. As I told, why we need this object locking. We need this stored objects using write once read many. Okay, write once read many. That means once you put it, only you can upload it or put it, or you can create a new file in the bucket once only, right? Once, but anybody can read as many time as they want. After that they cannot delete it, they cannot edit it, nothing, because it is locked. It is very simple, it is disabled now, you have to simply enable it. Okay, now what it says, Amazon S3 currently does not support enabling object lock after a bucket has been created. So before they were supporting, like once the bucket is created, even they were giving options to lock the object. But now they have revoked that options. They are clearly mentioning here, S3 Amazon S3 currently does not support enabling object lock after a bucket has been created. So that means you have to set up the lock during the bucket creation. During the bucket creation. Okay. So now you can see here it is grayed out, disabled, so we cannot edit it out. Now let's move on and just go ahead and create the transfer acceleration. Okay, so for faster data transfer, let's go ahead and edit it, enable it. So here is the accelerated endpoint. What it says, use the accelerated endpoint for faster data transfer and which will incur an additional fees. Okay, so here is the point. Okay, S3 is comes under free tier, right? 12 months free tier, up to 50 GB is free. After that they will charge you. But if you are going to use transfer acceleration option, right, then you have to pay for that. It will not come under free. This feature, this transfer acceleration feature does not come under free tier. So whatever you are going to use for faster data transfer, obviously if you are going to use any free service, then you have to wait for something, right? You have to wait, because see, normal data transfer of 1 GB data to bucket suppose takes 5 minutes of time. If you use transfer acceleration, it will take few seconds, it will be uploaded. Okay, now what you do, let's do save changes. If you do save changes, what will happen, the accelerated endpoint will be created. Okay, so what happens, successfully edited transfer acceleration. Now if you go here, the transfer accelerations, right, let's move on and get this transfer acceleration details. Okay, so I can see here the endpoint, transfer acceleration endpoint. So we have to use this endpoint to, and again one more thing, this upload, transfer acceleration upload will be beneficial more for command line transfer. If you are transferring something through API, if you are transferring and uploading any bucket or any object through command line interface, that time it will help you to upload quicker. I'll show you some examples. Okay, before that let me just tell you how we can set up the AWSCLI and work on that. Okay, because you will not understand this. This accelerated endpoint we need while transferring to the bucket. Okay, now let's leave it, let's disable it for the time. I don't want to pay unnecessary for this. Okay, now save it, save the changes. Okay, so once I finish the AWS CLI part, then we'll enable this one and we'll get the ARN, sorry, we'll get the transfer accelerations endpoint. Using that endpoint we can transfer the files and objects to the bucket. Okay, so this is how you have to set up the transfer accelerations. Now, so yesterday we are talking about the cross region replications. So what was the cross region replications? So you can put all your objects in different regions. You can replicate the objects, you can replicate the bucket in different region. So as I told, whenever you create any bucket, it will be created by default. It will give you options to create on the same AWS region of the account. In the account which region it is created, it will be the same account. So during the creations, it will give options to change your region, in which region you want to create your bucket. Okay, so it was created in Asia Pacific, Mumbai. If I want to create a cross region replications, I want to put this bucket in different region, suppose in Singapore or Hong Kong. So how we can do it, let's go ahead. click this bucket, go to the management sections. Okay, go to the in the buckets management section. In this management section, we have this lifecycle rules. Okay, and we have this replications rule. What is this replications? Use replications rule to define options you want Amazon S3 to apply during replication, such as server-side encryptions, replica ownership, transitioning replicas to another storage class, and many more. Okay, so mainly we'll use this replica to replicate our objects or store or bucket to another region. Okay, so let's go ahead and create this replications. Simply you have to go ahead and create replication rule. Okay, and just give rule id, so replication rule name up to 20 to 55 characters. Okay, so you have to give one id. Okay, and that id, what happens in order to able to use this id in CloudWatch metrics to monitor the progress of replication rule. So whatever ID you'll give, you can use that ID for your CloudWatch to monitor the replication. Okay. So similarly, we can give a replication rule name. Suppose I can give my replica, my S3 replica 21. Anything give, or I don't give it also my S3 replica. So what happened here? Choose whether the rule will be enabled or disabled when created. So it will be enabled only. Okay. The priority value resolves the conflict that occur when an object is eligible for replication under multiple rules of the same destination. So the priority is given 0 by default. It comes 0. Also we cannot change it. Now here is most important to know about the source bucket. Like the source bucket, which one you are going to replicate. Okay, so what happened? The source bucket name and the AWS region, choose a rule scope. What happens? Limit the scope of this rule using one or more filter and apply to all objects in the bucket. So if you are going to put filter, right, you have to give the subfolder details or the prefix and suffix I was telling, right, suffix and prefix, so that it can able to apply the replications for that particular subfolder or particular files. Okay, now let me apply to all the objects in the bucket. Whatever the objects are there in the bucket, I want to replicate those things in the other region also. Now destination, here you have to choose a destination bucket. Okay, now you can replicate object um, across buckets in different AWS region. That is why it is called cross region replication. That's why it is called cross region replications. Now as I have only one bucket, I need a destination bucket. Okay, now let's go ahead and create one more bucket in a different region. Okay, I'll just go ahead and quickly create one more bucket in different region. Let's go ahead, create bucket, give bucket name here. Suppose Hong Kong, I'll add it. Okay, Hong Kong. So demo bucket B5 Hong Kong. This is the region name I simply added to identify it. Okay, for a demo purpose. Now let me add this into the Hong Kong region, right? So let's see whether we have Hong Kong region or not. Hong Kong region is not there, I think. Basically Hong Kong is disabled. Okay, so this replication is not applicable for the Hong Kong region. Okay, so instead I can go ahead and use Sydney or Singapore. Let's select the Singapore, change the name to identify Singapore. Okay, I'll set it to sync. Now I selected Singapore region here, and you can see here the region code up south east 1. So Mumbai region is up south 1. Okay, Singapore is up south east 1. Now choose bucket. Copy settings from existing bucket. So it is optional. If you have already any existing bucket for destinations, you can choose it the same settings. Fine. Ownership is SL is disabled, but I will enable it. Now bucket ownership, bucket owner preferred. If new objects written to this bucket specify the bucket owner full control can SCL, they are owned by the bucket owner. Okay, so object writer means the object writer remains the object owner. Fine. So you can see the bucket owner preferred. Now bucket policy settings for this bucket. What happens? By default, as I told, the bucket is private. Let me select as public. Okay, yesterday I was telling you, right? And one more most important things to remember: whenever you are going for cross region replication, you should activate the versioning, bucket versioning. That is what I was telling in our last class, right? Versioning must be enabled on both the source and destination bucket, right? Versioning must be enabled. So source bucket already the versioning enabled. Now let me enable the destination bucket as well. Okay, just give it tag is optional. It's up to you whether you want to give or not. Encryption, let it disable. Object locking also I'm disabling it. So create bucket simply. Okay, successfully created bucket. So here it says the buckets can be public. Okay, now let me make this to public only. Go ahead. So how can I do it? Go to the permissions. Okay, before that let's see the properties. So the versioning is enabled. Fine, let's go to the permissions. Okay, so we have to create the bucket policy, or we can directly change. So here, so yesterday I was showing about the creating the bucket policy. Now I'll not use any bucket policy. I'll directly go ahead and change the access control list here. Okay, let's go ahead and edit it. Everyone, okay, I understand. Save changes. Now you can see the bucket will say like public, right? Now it is public. Okay, let's go ahead and start the replications. If I go here in this page, okay, in the destination, what in the replication page, in the destination side, choose a bucket in this account. Okay, now let's go ahead and browse the bucket name. So okay, so the newly created bucket is not reflecting. Okay, now it is reflected. So when I clicked on refresh reload button, it is reflecting here. Remember guys, whatever you creating any resources or anything, if it is not reflecting or not coming it, better just do refresh once or twice. Okay, just once load it or twice you load it, it will automatically come in. Now we can see it here, the destination bucket has come up. I'll select as the Singapore region, from source Mumbai region, and destination Singapore. Choose path, setup, right, done. Now the IAM role, choose from existing IAM role, or you can enter any IAM role you have created. Now the IAM role, what it says, create new role. You can set, you can use whatever the existing roles available, or you can simply select create new role. Okay, fine, I'll select create new role or role, so it will automatically create a role. So encryption, replicate objects encrypted using AWS. I don't want to anything to replicate or encrypted. Okay, leave it. So destination storage class. So The destination storage class, what it says, Amazon S3 offers a range of storage classes defined for different use cases. If you want to change the storage class for the replicated objects, you can select it here and change the storage classes here. But default I have selected as standard one. Okay, now leave it. So additional replication options, these are the additional options you can, if you want to give it, you can just give it or leave for the time. Okay, what it says, replication time control, which replicates its new object within 15 minutes and provides replication metrics notifications. And all these options you can find it here: replication metrics notification, delete maker replications, replica modifications, all these informations you can get it if you want. I don't want now, right? Let's go ahead and save the changes. So it will take some time. What it says, replicate existing objects. You can enable one-time batch operation job from this replication configurations to replicate objects that already exist in the bucket and to synchronize the source and destination bucket. This is a very good feature, they have added it recently, guys. Okay, remember what I was telling, when you create the replications, the object inside the source bucket will not be automatically synced, right? Will not be automatically synced. So what we have to do, we have to use this option. See, by default, do not replicate existing objects. So it will not be automatically synced. That is what it was given in now. So files and an existing object are not replicated automatically. So we have to do it by selecting the options manually, or all subsequent and updated files will be replicated automatically. So to see this example, let me just select yes, replicate existing objects. Okay, so whatever the objects are there, let's replicate. Okay, for better not to replicate, I'll show you in this how it will not replicate automatically, and we can upload the files in the source, then it will automatically change in the destinations. Okay, now let's go ahead and click submit. So what happened, I selected do not replicate the things. That means whatever the objects are there in the source, it will not be replicated now. Okay, if I go to this, see, here is the, once it is the replication is created, here is the replication name. I have given that my S3 replica, and here is given like the bucket destination, that is the bucket destination S3 demo, and it does not have anything now. It does not have anything now. Okay, so as the replication, I stopped it. Now let's go ahead in this bucket and try to put new object in this file, and let's see what is happening. Okay, I'm going to put now a new object in this bucket and see whether it is getting reflected to the other bucket or not. Okay, now let's go ahead and upload a file in the bucket B5 only. I am uploading. Okay, any kind of okay, I uploaded one image file here. Now the permissions you have to select, right? Grant public access, yes, upload. Okay, so upload succeeded, close it. So I got one more file here in the source bucket. Let's view this file. As I told, either you can select the copy URL there itself, or you can get the copy URL option here. So if I go here this bucket, and if you see the object, select this object. You don't have to necessarily go inside the object and get the URL. You can simply get the copy URL and paste it here. So you can find it out here, like the object, you can view it. Let's see whether the same object will be available in the Singapore region or not. Okay, so this is the bucket, it is available in this bucket. Now see the replication has happened or not. Let's reload this page. See, I did not upload anything manually here, right? Simply I upload the objects in this Mumbai region, and the file is automatically replicated to the Singapore region. Is automatically replicated to the Singapore region. Okay, so I can refresh this page, and if you want to access it, again I clicked it. Okay, fine. So copy object URL. If I go here, see the difference of this URL is, if you see it here, let's see it. So both the things are accessible now. If I go here and check, here the bucket URL is different, like the bucket name and app south 1, but here the object is getting bucket name is sing b5 sing, and here we are getting app southeast hyphen 1. Same objects available in different regions. Okay, now it's clear guys how we can use the replications to replicate your objects in both the bucket different regions. Okay, now let's go ahead and delete the replication. I don't want, because replication is they will charge you for the replications. Okay, I'm not going to use that one. Let me delete this. Go to the buckets and select this bucket, go to the management section, and here we have this replications. Select this replications, and you can see after that you can do edit ruling and create replication different rule also, you can change and do it. Okay, so let me just simply delete this replications. Don't keep it. After doing practice, just delete it. Okay, for safer side, so that they will not charge you. Delete replication rule. So now the replication rule has been deleted. Okay, but I have the bucket is still available. So this bucket is still available, but connection between these two is now disabled. The replication rule has been disabled now. Now if I put anything here, it will not sync with this bucket. It will be not synced with this bucket. Okay, so it's clear guys. It's very much clear about all the S3 related buckets and all these things, right? So what I would say actually guys, better do practice. Okay, do practice, or else you will not understand immediately, you will forget. Okay, next day you will forget whatever is taught. Again you have to go to the video, you have to look after it, and again it is time consuming, right? So to understand whatever was taught, better immediately, just today at least give 1 hour. It will not take more than 1 hour guys, if you do practice. And if you want to get expert, just go to the complete AWS documentations in the AWS site and try to do practice and advanced. You just do by yourself, doing learning and reading some questions if you want to get mastery on that. Okay, but whatever I have taught is more than enough to be master in S3. Okay, there are already I have taught you these things, right? If you have seen for the batch operations. So what is this batch operation? Let me tell you about this batch operations little bit. So this batch operation is to create a batch job. You guys might be working on the batch job, cron job, right? To schedule something, right? To run some particular time. So you can create a job to take some backups, to create some objects, to and create some replications. All these things you can use this batch operations to create the jobs. Okay, so all clear with the S3 now. Let's go ahead and use CLI. This is the time to learn AWS CLI. So I'll just quickly tell you how to use the AWS CLI, and I'll give you a task to do at your home. Okay, now what is the AWS CLI? The AWS CLI is a unified tool to manage your AWS services from a terminal session on your own client, allowing you to control and configure multiple AWS services and implement a level of automations. So with just one tool, you can control multiple AWS services from the command line and automate them through the scripts. So in short form, if we tell that AWS command line is a tool to interact with your AWS management console through terminal. If you are going to tell the shorter form of the definitions, okay, AWS CLI is a command line tool to interact with the AWS console using terminal from your terminal. Okay, now that is the definitions, nothing much theoretical to learn. Whatever you have to do, only practical. Okay, no theoretical. Now we have to install the AWS CLI, right? So let's see how to install the AWS CLI. So we have our AWS CLI page available here. Okay, now let's go ahead and get the user guide of this AWS CLI. Okay, we have this AWS CLI, the versions. Now I need to show you how to install the AWS CLI. How to install the AWS CLI. Now let's configuration site AWS CLI. It's not required. Getting started. Install and updates. Okay, let me just ping you this link. It will be helpful, and just keep it handy. What is that? Okay, here it is. Okay, this is the link. Okay, just keep it handy. Just open in your browser and do a bookmark. Okay, immediately do a bookmark. So you can see here how we can install that. Okay, so what is that installations? Click on the installations part and we'll see here how to install the AWS CLI. Okay, we have different options here. Linux, Windows. In Windows also you can install it in your machines. Okay, let's do in the Linux. You can see it here, and in the Mac OS. This is okay for Linux. Let me show you for Linux how you can install. It is very simple. You have to just download the Linux zip file, then unzip this and just use sudo to install it. Okay, let me show you this demo. Okay, first copy this command, call command. Before that, let me connect to the Linux machine. Okay, it is already installed on my Mac machine, so I'm not going to show you in that. So let me just connect to the server Linux machine, and there I'll show you how to install the AWS CLI. Okay, I'll quickly show it. Okay, it's just loading. Just give a second. Okay, the public IP. Okay, So as per the command here given, the options, I'm going to copy this line, just copy this. What is this? Just copy this line to download the G file, AWSCLI version 2. AWSCLI version 2, I'm going to just download it. Remember, as I told, you have to use the curl command. There is another command also there, Unix command or Linux command, that's called wget to download the file from the internet. Now hit enter. So the file is, this G file is downloaded. Okay, this G file is downloaded. Now you can see here the file is downloaded. What I want to do now, let me unzip this file. What we can do, we can use command called unzip. Copy this file. Cool. So it's unzipped the software. Okay, now it is unzipped. See, it is unzipped as AWS. It is unzipped as AWS. Now I don't need this file, as I already have unzipped it. I can use the rm command to remove the file. Okay, done. So if you see here, our AWS is there. So what I can do, using the root user sudo, let's delete, let's install. Okay, AWS, sorry, it will be, let's copy this command, it should be AWS install. Okay, sudo dot AWS install, hit enter. Now the installation is successful. What it says, you can now run AWS hyphen version, right? Let's check. See, if you do AWS hyphen version, it will give you which version of AWS is installed. Also, what it does with this package AWS installations, it automatically install this AWS CLI with the dependency Python install 3.9. Okay, now we can see AWS version, AWS hyphen version. So which version of AWS CLI is installed, it will display you. Now what we need, installation is very easy, it is done, right? Only one line, just download it and install it. Similarly for Windows also, again it is simpler than Linux also, right? If I go to the Windows part, you'll see it here. Simply you have to download it here, the msi.msi, you can use this link to download, then double click to install it. That's all, it will be installed. Or you can, the command line, you can execute this command in the command prompt, you can execute this command to install it. It is simple, easy, right? After that you can check the versions. Now, so once it is installed successfully, what we need to configure the command line tool. That's most important to understand and to know, right? So what is that, how we'll do it? Will be like the things, first you have to configure it. The command is called AWS configure. Okay, if you are not sure about the commands and all, how you can do, you can use AWS hyphen help. It will give you the list, only help, not hyphen help, hyphen h. It not gives the details, I think it should be given the details. Okay, AWS help, use AWS help. Good. So it gives the details how you can use the commands. It has all the details, but this is not required. There is one very good command line reference are there. I'll just so give you that one and you can follow to do all the work. Okay, now leave this one. What I have to do now, I have to configure it. Remember, there will be 2-3 questions I'll ask you guys, be ready for that. Okay, so what I need to use configure command, AWS configure, to configure the AWS account. So why I need to configure? Because this machine should know or understand that which account you are going to use. Okay, now let me exit out from here. I'll show you from my local laptop, to connect the AWS resources. Okay, now what I have to do, I have to simply, the installation I showed you, that is fine. Now let me configure it. Configure, hit enter. So it is asking me now the access key ID. So the question is, where can I get this access key ID? It is already set up in my machine with this access key ID. I want to show you how to reconfigure it and how to configure it with another ID. How I'll get this access key ID and from where I'll get it. We already have a class over and we already have seen these things. Okay. So these things, guys, I always tell you to remember and do practice. If you would have done practice, you would have remember all this, right? That's why whatever I'm teaching now, before going to teach another topic, that other related topic, I should have completed you first, right? Because this access key ID is required now, and I already have taught you all these things my previous to previous classes. Okay, how can I get this access key ID? So if you don't remember, then you will be stuck here, right? Nobody remember? Okay.
Is it the key pair which we created
During machine creation?
yes.
No, that is the only that will have only public and private keys. That will having the public and private keys. But I need the access key ID and the secret key. Where I can get this?
So yesterday while creating the storage when we created one access key.
Yesterday while creating the AWS, no. Okay, yes, there I was showing you the one thing. If you remember, Gunjes, I was showing you one thing, right? I was showing you where can I get this access key ID. That time also, yesterday also, I
Yes.
showed you, right? Where can I get this key ID, access key ID? Jyoti, I think Jyoti's mic is not working. If you, Jyoti, know the answer, you can ping. I think you will be practicing, but guys, really, you have to practice. Okay. Okay, fine. Let me tell you, we are getting late. So we'll get it from the IAM user, right? The access key ID, and how we'll get it when you create the access user will have the programmatic access. I was always telling you, right? While creating the user, we'll have two options: console access and programmatic access. While you select programmatic access, it will give us the access key ID and the secret key. We need that keys to set up here now, right? Let me quickly go ahead and create one user using the IAM service. We already have covered this IAM. That's why I always tell you, do practice. Everything is interrelated, all the services, right? And this is what, whenever you go for the interview, they'll ask questions, and that time you should be always active, that you can answer whatever they're going to ask you. You have to correlate, you have to, now if you don't correlate the things, you don't remember. Okay, so be prepared and do practice. That only can happen if you do practice. Okay, IAM, go to the IAM now. So in the IAM, I'm going to quickly create one access key ID and secret key. So for that, I need to create an object, not object, I will create user. So okay, so here what happened, let's get the access key ID and password from this ADM user. Okay, ADM user, from this ADM user I'll get the access key ID and password. Okay, So let's select this ADM user, because I forgot the user ID and password. So what I have to do now, I have to yeah guys, so what will do it here, we have this user, right? Now you can see these options available, security credentials. Click on this security credentials and we'll have this access key ID, right? We have this access key ID, but we don't have the secret key. We don't have the secret key available. So what we can do, we can create access new access key for the user. Suppose the user forgot the access key ID, so we will not get it back the same access key again. What we have to do, we have to get another access key ID and the secret key. Okay, so let me go ahead and create access key here. Never post your secret key on the public platform. That's good. So now we have this access key ID and the secret access key. This is the secret. Now let me copy this access key ID, put it here. Okay, access key ID. Now it will ask for secret access key. So I need this secret access key here. Okay, put the secret access key here, hit enter. Okay, the default region is app south 1. If you want to keep change any region, you can give the region code only. So you should remember the region code. Suppose I want to give Singapore region, what should I give? I should give app southeast -1, right? So I want this Mumbai region app south 1, so let it be, hit enter. Format none, so default format will be JSON format, JavaScript object notation format. Okay, leave it. Good. So now my AWS is configured. All right, I configured AWS account in my laptop. Now I can connect, I can access the objects or the services, the resources from my laptop directly from the terminal. I don't need unnecessarily to have to log into the AWS management console. Now I can access the bucket, right? So what is the command if I want to see the list of buckets available? How I'll check it? So it is very simple. You have to use AWS is the primary command, the base command. Then you have to use the service S3. Then you have to use the command to check that one. To know how to use this one, we have, let me close, I don't need this. We have a AWS command line reference. Keep it handy. I'll just ping you in the chat room. Okay, yes. So what we'll do, we have a AWS CLI command reference. Suppose I'm going to work on S3. So let's go and check for S3, and it is alphabetically there are lots of services. See, lots of services and lots of resources available, and you have to work on that. Hundreds of thousands of resources available here. Okay, so I need the S3. Go to S here, check here, S3 is there, right? Click on this S3 and you will see here options available here, the sub commands. Here the sub commands available. So these are the commands for copying, moving and deleting objects or buckets, and here we have listing, bucket creating, syncing all the objects, everything available here. Okay, now if I want to list out the, if you want to see the other commands, you can just use -s3 help. Oh, sorry, wrong command. Anyway, it gives the last command. It should be help, not hrlp, help. Okay, so it gives the details here, cp move rm Okay, all these options, how you will use it, everything gives here. Available commands, cp, ls, mb, all these commands available. Better you follow this documentation, it has given everything, see, and the available commands here, and how to use all these options. You can select the respective command and you can get it. Okay, now let me just quickly use AWS S3 ls. So what it will do, it will list out the buckets available in this user's account. See, we have this demo bucket, sing here 5, right? If you want to see the list out the bucket, what this contains, to know how to use it, click on this ls command here. You'll find how we can use these options here, S3 ls. See, to know the particular bucket informations. Hello, Kodo? Guys, 1 minute, I'll be back. 1 second. हाँ बोलिए. हाँ कौन हो? आप आ जाइए, अभी आ जाइए. आप मेरा 370 हाँ, कोई दुकान में लगा. काम करता हूँ मैं आपका कपड़े sorry guys, okay, so here you can list out the bucket also. Okay, now, so what we can use, AWS S3 ls and give the bucket name. To give the bucket name, we have to use S3 colon the bucket name. Okay, suppose demo bucket, hit enter. So it will list out the objects inside this bucket. Okay, see, list out this bucket. Okay guys, hope you understood how to use the AWS CLI. Okay, maybe in our next classes I'll give you more details, how to use on different services. More details in the sense, we'll just go with some demos with how we can access other services in the AWS. Okay, so for you actually a task is, today do practice whatever we have learned yesterday and today. With this AWS CLI install in your laptop, try to set off, configure with access key ID and secret key, and then try to access using this AWS command. Okay, also follow this CLI reference for other services also, for other resources like EC2 we have covered. So whatever objects we have covered, you can select EC2. Okay, go to the EC2 sections, you can see the EC2. Also for IAM we have covered, and you can go for IAM service also to do practice. Okay, this is a task for you, and complete in next Saturday you should have practiced this S3 completely. If you have any doubt or anything, we can discuss on this day. Okay.